Hey everybody, it's Jordan. I'm here with my good friend. I know him as Spencer Jones. Fans might know him as Fury and a few different nicknames and titles over the years. But I'm grateful for the time that joining me. As we record this, I'm actually on the road coming back from a birthday weekend in Southern California. But I'm super grateful that you made the time to join me today, and always been a big fan of your work. And I'm excited to kind of talk about our backstory. From my perspective, our families have kind of grown up together in the same area. And I've been in school with your sister Vicky since like second grade. Our younger brothers, Cam and Rando, are best friends. And we always kind of looked up to you. And from style to art to music, you always kind of were on the cutting edge of stuff. So I'm excited to see, that you've made a life and career out of it. But for those that don't know you, please tell us kind of where you grew up and what inspired you to get into music.
Hey, what's up, man? Likewise. Thank you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We've been friends and people for a long time. So, I think it's real cool to jump on here. I'm from Monterey County, and so I'm just a California boy, born and raised. Um, Spent a lot of time in Prunedale, did a lot of music in Castroville, spent a lot of time in Salinas. Basically, just been doing music, I'd say, since I was about 12 and kind of taking it very serious since I was about 14, maybe a freshman or a sophomore. And I just kind of, listened to the game around me, some of the older people that I was influenced by. And I just was kind of DIY, did it the DIY route from the top. And I love it. I just in love with the process. So like it's really nothing to me because I'm gonna do it regardless. It keeps me busy and I'm a type of person where I finish what I start, man. So
Yeah.
once I get something going, it's just like I'm gonna obligate myself to finish that, no matter how long it takes. Sometimes things take longer than others, but I think that's just the key, just putting one foot in front of the other.
You've always been an early adapter from, like I said, just personal style to the music. And even though obviously we were there for a lot of the evolution of the technology and social media, but before that, tell us about some of the like, what one, who was kind of an influence on you musically, and then two, how were you starting in music before a lot of this software and online stuff was available? When it was some of the more analog stuff, what were some of the tools you were using when you first were getting started?
Okay. Well, I've been influenced by hip hop and rock music since basically I'm an MTV kid, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
born 1981. I grew up in that whole era.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much like I didn't necessarily identify with a lot of the rock styles, but like the music always you stuck with me, and the music was always something that was real important. And like I'm a big fan of all that, like Metallica, Nirvana, Pantera. I listen to a lot of like Tom Petty, and like when I'm
Yep.
on the road, I really don't listen to hip hop. I'm listening to Aerosmith and like Soundgarden and like
That's
stuff
dope.
like that because
Yep.
like I think the first tape I ever even bought that I actually spent my money on was Nirvana. So like although I didn't necessarily like relate with like the visual styles, like the music was always like if you listen to my music, you could always hear like a heavy, like there's a
Mm.
rock influence like
Yeah.
throughout, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Music goes in cycles, right? And it's on one hand like there's original creatives, on the other hand there's like nothing new. It kind of just gets recycled and inspiration. And I saw an interview the other day with Pharrell and Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl was saying that even though he was a pioneer in the grunge drumming, he stole a lot of his stuff from 70s and 80s funk, like Daz Band, Gap Band, Earth,
Yeah.
Wind and Fire. And then he played him that Teen Spirit song, the beginning of it, and you
Yeah.
go back and he compared it to a Gap Band song, and I was like, I was like, I can't
Hmm.
believe I never heard that. And Dave was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
just copied the Gap Band basically, and that was Nirvana. So it all
I
comes in
mean,
cycles.
everything's kind of like, yeah, everything's slightly a remix. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everything's influenced by something, it's like it's nothing is hardly like just super 100% original, but I mean I think that's what makes it dope. That's what just putting your flip on something, putting your take on something, and bringing new life into it.
And so for those that, nowadays, you can go viral on TikTok, or you can just record a track on your phone and then post it right away to SoundCloud or anything like that. But back in the day, you had to actually go into the studio, record it on a cassette or a CD, and then maybe you would promote a show. So talk about those early days of getting out there. Once you got to learn the skills and you started actually making music, what was it like to start doing shows and doing live, and how did that change things for you?
Wow. I mean, I just had to put it all on the line when we first did our first show. I think our first show ever was at the Castroville Community Center.
Oh wow!
We did a show. It was a freestyle party with a battle, and it was tight. It was cracking. And
was that you and Carlos?
That was me and Carlos. Yeah. Shout out to
awesome.
King.
Yeah.
And we had I think the flyer was done by the homie Night Train, which is Raul.
Yep.
And pretty much we had a good turnout right there. And then the next show we did was at Palookaville, which was basically like a sold out huge show where we opened up for Be Legit and a couple Bay Area artists. And I mean, it was pretty much just on from there. I love performing. That's like my main thing. Writing songs is kind of like a more lengthy process for me, and but like performing, like I love to get on stage and stuff.
I think you and some others really embody the kind of the blend of where we're from, right? So you have the Bay Area, Sacramento rap game and scene, but then you also have the Santa Cruz kind of punk reggae scene, and then you also have the Salinas kind of oldies, and it all kind of comes together to kind of create that unique sound. And it's just, I mean, every generation probably feels that they're unique or special, but that kind of millennial, like younger Gen X, older millennials that got to grow up with their parents' music from the 60s and the 70s, and then we had our own in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, that 90s hip hop and early 2000s was like, and this is before social media. I mean, imagine if Tupac and Mac Dre and those guys had social media. It wouldn't even be fair.
Oh wow. The game would be totally different. It'd be a whole different reality that we're looking at right now, for sure.
So you earn your stripes, obviously learning the analog style, doing traditional shows, making flyers by hand, doing live shows, and then all of a sudden something, we had computers, we had the internet in the 90s, but not really. People weren't really using it that seriously. And then all of a sudden things like Napster come out, LimeWire comes out, and there's digital music. And then the iPod comes out kind of like 2005, 2006. And it just, the game changed from there. So what was it like for you being an independent artist, seeing that digital kind of evolution?
I mean, it's kind of hard for us because in my era, I feel like we kind of came in on the tail end of like the golden era. So like we wasn't really quite old enough to really get it while the getting was good. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure all these 90s artists, and they're just counting their blessings because of just the way things turned out. But like at the same time, like I was DIY from the beginning, like I was going to the same studio that Sibo, Killate, Lunatic, a whole bunch of people was going to in Fairfield. And, my dad was driving me out there to get studio time. And I was pressing up the music myself on cassette tapes. Like I would get a ride out to Santa Cruz. There's a store called Batish, and it's kind of like it's like an Indian store where they have all this merchandise, and they would have all these blank tapes, blank cassettes, labels, and I'd just be my own factory. And I'd get my music, and I'd press 50 tapes one by one with 50 covers. My mom had printer machines and stuff because she had her own business, basically in the medical field. And so she had printers, and she would help me print my covers, and I was just one by one. And like when I would look at my stack of tapes, like I would see my product right there at 14 years old, and it would inspire me. And I was kind of shy and stuff. So but the music really spoke for itself. I didn't really do a lot of talking. but just the word spread around in the high school, in the forum, and people were just coming up to me. I was selling tapes for $3, $5, and I was getting some cool money off doing that. And
that's badass.
I pretty much just learned it from Too Short and E40, you know, like they said, hey, go, don't wait for a record deal. Don't wait to get signed. Go get yourself some money, go make some music, put it out and sell it, gain yourself some leverage from the top, and pretty much just don't wait for nothing. And I kind of took that to heart and just went with it.
Well, like you said, there was a golden, I remember those days and you were killing it. And there was a golden era for music where, you know, if you got a charting hit and you had the licensing, I mean, you're just printing money. But there was also a lot of gatekeepers and there was also a lot of hands in your pocket. And so there were some artists like the ones that you mentioned that just killed it. And then others who maybe have the talent, but they ended up getting into a bad deal or working with the wrong manager or whatever the case might have been. And you never heard from them again because they just didn't play their cards right or they got taken advantage of. And so on one hand, it was sad to see that traditional money go away. But the exciting part was for an independent artist, now you didn't have the gatekeepers. You didn't need to get signed. You became your publishing. You could produce your own stuff. You could manage your own tour. And so all of a sudden, live became more important than ever because it was like, it's one thing to have a produced track on the radio, but if you can't do it live, like that's a whole other beast, right? And so you always kind of did both. And so artists like yourself were able to rise because you adapted social media early and you still had the live game as well.
Yeah. I actually felt like I was a late adapter to social media. Like I learned my mistakes too. Like sometimes I just didn't jump on things. Like I was trying to hold on to the old style. But like you said, like now, like once I realized like this is easy for me, man. Like this is because like you said, like back in the days, I had to go to a studio, pay a lots of money. There was no interfaces, software, computers, and then like you couldn't get a beat, just there was no YouTube. So like just by default, I had to become my own producer from the very beginning. When I was 14 years old and I'm going to the studio, where do you get a beat? Like you have to make the beat. So like you have to learn drum programming, learn, you know, keys and stuff. And so like I was learning from the ground up because that was the only way. So like from there, we used to record on ADATs, and basically it was like a videotape. It's like a VCR tape. There'd be 3 ADATs, and they would be synced up. Each ADAT would have 8 channels, thus the 24 tracks. And so you'd be playing 3 tapes at the same time, and that's where all the tracks were. So like it was a whole different process. Like there wasn't nothing to look at, right? We weren't looking at anything. It was just your ears and that was it. You know, the equipment that you had at hand. So like Pro Tools and like all this equipment is pretty much just like a dream come true. Like,
oh my God,
easy now. So like
GarageBand and Fruity Loops, you can do from your phone. It's like,
pretty much.
It's crazy. Obviously, there's quality difference. But at least that initial wave of creativity, I mean, I've seen yourself or others turn a voice memo into a hit record. You know what I mean? You just record it and then you can collaborate remotely. Let's say you have a producer in another state or another country even. You can throw it out there and now you can collaborate, which a lot of people did during the pandemic. But so I know that you've worked with a lot of high-profile people over the years. And what was the balance you struck between being your own artist versus being a producer? So is it one and the same for you, or did you kind of have to separate
them? Well, like I said, like I just always wanted to be a rapper, you know what I'm saying? But when I started, I couldn't get no beats. So I had to become a producer. So every song that I made, I end up producing. And producing is what took off for me. Like I was getting paid to make beats for other people. It's like it's kind of hard to get paid just as a rapper. You see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of difficult to just make money if all you do is rap. You see what I'm saying? So like luckily for me, like it's kind of just an evolution, and I'm glad that I was able to pivot. You see what I'm saying? So like producing really took off for me, and we was making a lot of money off production. So like that really just ended up feeding the fam. And then I end up really liking it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then from there, it took me to like, well, I had to take my beats. I was a mobile producer. So I was at this studio, that studio, but like I couldn't get no beats to anyone unless I went to a studio. So then in 2011, I invested in my own studio. You know, I got 6-7 grand and I bought a bunch of stuff and I just went crazy learning the skills so I could put myself to work as a mixer and an engineer. You see what I'm saying? So from there is like, well, I need videos now. Everything's a visual. So then I learned to shoot my own videos and edit and like graphics and pretty much just everything. So like it became a one-stop shop for a lot of people, not because necessarily I wanted to do it, but it's more just like people were like, I want my beats to sound like how yours sound. Like, I want my artwork to look how yours works. You know, I want my mix to sound clear like yours. And so like I just end up going to work and just being consistent, you know what I'm saying? Like doing what I say I'm gonna do.
Yep.
And, you know what I'm saying? Like serving
which is
up people.
Is so rare in the music industry. There's so many fakes and so many you know, whatever genre you're in, right? There's a lot of people that will take advantage or they just don't have the talent or you know whatever the case may be. So like you said, you built a reputation for consistency, for quality. One of the artists, again, you work with many over the years, but one of the artists you work with for a season was Chris Rene, who was you know, out of Santa Cruz, made it big on a big television competition. And how did that come about, and what was that like working with him?
Well, I was working with him in 2008. So this is about 3 years before he really got like the stardom and went on the show and everything. So like again, like I was kind of ahead and I had Chris Rene's songs in the marketplace when he blew up. So like this was back in the downloads days before streams. So he was getting 99 cents for every download.
Right.
That was actually pretty cool. I liked that. I hated it at first because we weren't selling CDs anymore, but I was like, this is cool because I saw, you know, the potential in that. But
and which tracks performed the best individually?
Yeah.
Because so back in the day, we used to have to buy a whole CD for $20. You might only like 2 songs on the whole CD, you know. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah. So he was doing his own thing, and we already had a relationship. So after he kind of got, you know, real famous and big and doing all his stuff, I kind of just sat back for a little bit till he, you know, got some time to everything settled down and stuff. And I didn't really reach out to him. He just ended up reaching out to me and just wanted to work. And we made a couple tight songs. And we made a couple real nice songs. One of them ended up coming down, and I'm not exactly sure where he's at right now, but I tried to you know, just give him the rollout I felt like he deserved. I felt like, you know, like people weren't handling him right, and you know, he wasn't just getting treated right. And I knew a lot of things from just being independent the whole time. And he kind of had a different angle as me. You know, he knew a lot of things about major labels, major deals, and big touring, and I knew a lot of stuff about independent. So like we kind of just put our resources together, did a couple songs and a couple videos. And so, I mean, yeah, I think it's cool. Like I like those songs a lot.
Well, I love what you guys were able to do, and some of those songs are great. I would love to kind of bring them back because I think there's a whole generation of people maybe they haven't heard them yet, and so I think if we can refresh some of that. But for me, working in the industry for, you know, the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years or so, at different points I was, you know, at different levels of projects and some as management, some as a promoter, some as a musician. But I always kind of wanted to, and I still may at some point, have like a company that provided all the services of a label without any of the control. So I don't know, you know, from a business perspective where the business is at that. But for me, it wasn't about making money. It was about, we've all, including yourself, worked with artists that you thought, man, if they just had the resources behind them, this artist could just be incredible. But as you know, I mean, really to get going, you can bootstrap it, you can do it independent, but if an artist has A+ talent and work ethic, it's going to cost, I don't know, 50K, 100K just to get out the gate properly, right? With like
For sure. For
producing an
sure.
album, I mean,
I
that's
mean, that's barely scratching the surface if we're
but like,
really
yeah,
talking like,
for
like
sure.
that's just I've easily, yeah, like that's out of pocket easily
Yeah.
in a few years,
Yep.
just me as an independent person,
Yep.
artist, easily.
But imagine if you had a team early on that said, "Hey, here's a blank check within reason, but
Right, right.
here's we'll support you, we'll support your vision, and then we'll just ask for whatever, like down the road, maybe a percentage or whatever, but not of ownership, but just like of a kickback or whatever the case may be." But anyway, I just know there's so many amazing artists out there that either never get started or they never reach their full potential, and a lot of it has to do with money, or they get
Mhm.
caught up in some BS with the wrong people or whatever the case may be. I mean, and that leads me to my next question. How have you been able to maintain not only as an artist and a producer, but also as a business person and also as a family man throughout these past 20 some odd years? I mean, that's not easy to do, bro. It's hard to do one of those, let alone all three or four of those. So kudos to you for that.
Um, man, I got dedication, I would say like there's a book, it's Napoleon Hill, is Think and Grow Rich, and I kind
Yep.
of felt like wow, this is me, like kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like before, like when I started reading it, it's like, okay, it's just a burning desire kind of, you know what I'm saying, so like that will turn into like an obsession, you see what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there it's like you got to have a definite purpose, you see what I'm saying, like I know what I'm going to do, what I'm supposed to do every time, every day for this past 2 decades, so like, and then I know that's not easy for everybody, so like
Right.
I feel like, yes, I feel like I was fortunate to discover my purpose early on and just had enough guts to go for it, really, because I didn't really go to college. I don't have a degree and all that stuff, like I learned, I'm self-taught everything. And so like people, at a certain time, people kind of look down on that. You see what I'm saying? But like you got to be willing to like, you know, just you got to build tough skin in this industry. And so like I would say just having that focus and the purpose, you see what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
knowing like this is what I love to do and this is what I'm gonna do. Like I've had jobs, part-time jobs here and there, and I pretty much for the majority have worked for myself, but like
Mhm.
at some point it was just like, man, if I'm gonna be a producer, I gotta produce, dude. Like I gotta put it all on the
Yeah.
line and just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And
That's
you've
what,
done it. And to be honest, I decided I was also didn't go to school, but I decided last year to go back, and I'm finishing my degree now. Wish I
nice.
would have done it young, when I was
Right.
younger, but I appreciate it more now. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I realized, dude, my life experience, like same with you. You've already done multiple, like you could teach business courses
Mhm.
with everything you've been through.
Mhm.
Right? Your albums are your master thesis. So don't feel like, I mean, I understand like the academic world and the branding and the like, there is an accomplishment in getting a degree, but like
Yeah.
you've earned it in a different
Yeah.
way. You went to the school
Yeah.
of hard knocks, you went to the school of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, the school of music, and obviously it's produced great results. So we could go on and on with stories from back in the day, and I hope to continue that conversation. But what are some things you're working on now, or what are you excited for in the future? With you got AI coming in, disrupting things, right? And
Mhm.
social media, you got this like fake, all this fake stuff out there. Like it's getting harder to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. And so,
Yeah.
what do you see as like the future for you and for independent artists moving forward? Are you kind of worried about it, or are you excited about it?
I mean, there's been so much stuff to be worried by at this point that I'm not worried because like I'm always very adaptive. We're gonna adapt, but it is kind of just for the AI thing, I early tried to embrace that. It's so like a lot of things I was like, nah, I don't want to mess with that. And then before the time it took over, is kind of like, man, I was too late. So like, I didn't want that to happen with AI. So there's certain things that I'm adapting. I shot a video. I put out a video recently called A Hustler's Life, and it has some crazy AI visuals that I did.
Cool.
It's on Adobe Firefly, basically is the app. And I learned how to manipulate that. Pretty crazy to do. So pretty much like that's been going on. I'm dropping a new single this Friday, the 13th. It's called Salad Bowl.
Awesome.
And then let's see, I'm gonna be doing a performance at the Hoop It Up 3-on-3 basketball tournament, which is in San Jose at the big park out there. And that's gonna be
we won that back in the day, like 97, 98. We won our class back then.
We're
tough.
gonna do a show there, so I'm excited
awesome.
about that. Pretty much just still working on music, working on some stuff for myself. Finally, like I've spent so much time working for other artists that I really just hardly didn't have time for myself. That's why when you look at my catalog, there's a lot of gaps, because like I was just staying busy and employed doing stuff for other people, and I just didn't have time to work on my own stuff. But I stopped putting so much stuff on my plate so I could really focus on one or two things. And so
I struggle with the same thing. Where, if people don't know you already, where can people find you and find your music?
Yeah, everything is Fury Figeroa, FURYFIGEROA, furyfigeroa.com. I got merch there, hats, hoodies. I got CDs for sale. I got a DVD from back in the day. I got all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook. I got TikTok. It's Fury Figeroa on everything.
Awesome.
YouTube as well. Cool. Spotify, all that. Cool. That's pretty much, I like to take everyone to the website, and that's where pretty much the home is. And you can catch everything from there.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Spence, Fury, man, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully some folks learn some things about you through this conversation. And I've loved your career so far. I'm excited to see what you do next. And hopefully one of these days we'll get to collab together in the studio.
Oh, for sure, Jordan. We doing
all
that.
Right. Sounds good, brother. Take care, man.
All right,
we'll talk soon.
For sure.